All right, everybody, we are going to start our stat unit. Okay, so before we get into any nitty-gritty stat stuff, we are going to review box and whisker plots and measure of central tendencies and all that kind of good stuff that you've been doing for the past couple years in your math classes, okay? You've done it in middle school. I think you've done some in elementary school. You've done it in geometry and algebra 1 and stuff like that too. So we're just going to review today, all right? So looking at this warm-up problem, I just want to look at both graphs and kind of talk about what these vocab stuff mean and how we can look at graphs, okay? So the first thing I'm looking at is this graph to the left, all right? It says, what is the mean of these numbers, okay? Now, this is kind of like a frequency table, but like a frequency number line almost. It tells you how many times those numbers are in a data set. So if you were to make up a data set, you would say, okay, I have 1 0, I have 1 2 3 4 ones, I have 3 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. Okay, so this is kind of like a frequency table. Now, the mean, another word for mean is average. So you're finding the average. Remember, average is adding them all up, dividing by how many there are. So 4 and 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11, plus 3 is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we have 24, add it all up. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 numbers. So the average of all these numbers is 2. Just like if I were to take your test scores and average them together, I would add up all your test scores and see what the average was, okay? So the average for eating cereal last week is 2. So 2 times eaten cereal last week was our average. Okay, the next graph, okay, is talking about the days of the week and how many lawnmowers were sold per day. All right, so we have each day on the week on the bottom, numbers on the left, and it's kind of just like almost like a line graph, okay? So it says, what is the mode? Now, mode means most. So what number occurs the most, okay? So we could, if we wanted to, look at our number set, okay? So there were 8 on Sunday, there were 8 on Friday, 8 on Saturday, there was 1 on Sunday, 1 on Monday, 6 on Tuesday, 6 on Wednesday, okay? So the number that occurs the most, so 8 occurs 3 different times, 1 occurs twice, and 6 occurs 6. Sorry, Tuesday and Wednesday, yeah, they occur twice. Sorry, 6 occurs twice. Okay. So we would say, let's see, we can do 8, 8, 8, 1, 1, 6, 6. So the number occurs the most. There are 3 8s, so I would say 8 is my mode. Okay. Next, okay, we're making box and whisker plots. Now, when you have a box and whisker plot, okay, you have different things that are within that box and whisker plot, okay? So these are our 3 main, along with 2 more, that are in our box and whisker, okay? So the first thing that you're gonna do, that's why I have Q2 first, the first thing you're gonna find is your median of your data, okay? Your median of your data is gonna be bang in the middle, okay, Q2. So Q2 is right in the middle. So quartile 2, which is also our median, is going to be right there in the middle. Okay. Let's see. Quartile 1 is the median of the first half of the data. So I have this first half of my data, okay? Half of it is right here, and that's going to be my Q1. So quartile 1, okay? Now, I could fix this a little bit to where this right here, so Q1 is going to be, let me fix this just real quick. Okay, our box is going to be here, and this is going to be a dot, and this one's going to be a dot. Okay, so don't worry about this extra boxes here. Okay, we're going to have a dot that's connecting box, and then it connecting to another dot. Okay, so this right here is going to be a dot. Here, this is a dot. We have our quartile 2, which is smack dab in the middle. We have our Q1, which is halfway through our dot. We'll talk about that, what that means in a second. And our Q2. And then our Q3 is our is our median of the second half of the data, so it's the last half. So it goes in order: quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, but you find quartile 2 first. Okay, quartile 2 will help you find quartile 1 and quartile 3. Okay, now the left dot is going to be represented as your minimum, and your last dot is your maximum. So you have your max, your min, Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, now all of your data is split into 4 pieces basically, because you halved it, which gave you 2, and then you took half of each one. Okay, so you have 4 different areas and 4 different pieces of your data. Okay, so if you split something into 4 pieces, okay, if you split $1 into 4 pieces, you basically get a quarter. Okay, now don't go cut $1, but 4 quarters make $1, so they're quartiles. That's why they're called quartiles, quart. Okay, keyword there. So between your max and your Q1 is 25%. Okay, between your Q1 and your Q2 is 25%. Q2, Q3 is also 25%. Go fix that. 25. And then Q3 to max is 25%. Okay. All right, now example 1. All right, we are going to make our own box and whisker plot. So the first thing we need to do is we need to put our numbers in order. Okay, this is important. We have to put our numbers in order. Okay, so I'm going to make a new data set. I'm going to say 1, 2, 4, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16. So that's my new data set. All I did was I rearranged those numbers in order. Okay, now remember, I have to find my Q2 first. Okay, so Q2 is my median. Okay, so I'm gonna do cross out 1, cross out 16, cross out 2, cross out 12, cross out 4, cross out 10, cross out 4, cross out 8. Okay, so the number I have in the middle is 6. Now, if you were to end up, let's say you had a 5, a 7, an 8, and a 9. Okay, let's say you cross out 5, 9, and then you're left with these 2 in the middle. Okay, you are going to have to take the average of those 2 numbers. If there's no exact one number in that median spot, you're going to have to take the median, or the average of 7 and 8 and find the median of it. Okay, this one's a little bit easy. This one would be 7.5. 7 plus 8 divided by 2. If they're two numbers that aren't close to each other and you don't really know, add them together, divide by 2, and you'll get your median. Okay? Now, since our data, number 6, okay, is our Q2, we are going to cross it out and use the first half of data for Q1 and the second half of data for Q3. You are not going to use that 6 anymore. Okay? Now, in the situation up here, since you did not use 7 and you did not use 8, 8 would be included to find Q3, and 7 would be included to find Q1. Okay? So you wouldn't cross out any numbers here because you had to figure out what Q2 was. Here, Q2 is an actual number, so you're going to cross it out. Okay? All right, so Q1, you're going to find the median of the first half of data. So you cross out 1, cross out 4, cross out 2, cross out 4. Now, two numbers fall in the middle. So I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to take 2, add them together, which is 6. Divide 6 by 2, and that gives me 3. So 3 is going to be my Q1. Okay? And then, last but not least, we have our Q3. I'm going to cross out 8, cross out 16, cross out 10, cross out 12. Now, they fall in the middle. Okay? So between 10 and 12 is 11, or you could add them together. 10 plus 12 is 22. Divide by 22 in half, and that is 11. Okay? Now, I also need my max and my min. My min number is 1, my max number is 16. Okay, now I'm just going to, if you had a number line, it'd be easier. You can put your box and whisker on a number line. Since I don't have a number line, I drew it for you. Just label what each one is. So my minimum here is 1, my Q1 is 3, my Q2 is 6, my Q3 is 11, and my max is 16. Okay, it'll look a little different once you have a number line and you can draw the box and it'll be moving different ways, okay? Okay, so now here you have to make something, okay? All right, example 2, find Q1, Q2, and Q3 of the data set that consists of how many days 9 kids come to school in a week without a box and whisker plot, okay? Now, you're gonna make one after, okay? All right, so I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna put the data in a new set. Okay, so I have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 5. Let's see, I did 3, 4, 5, 5, 5. Okay. All right. Now, Q1, remember Q2 first. So let me do my crossing out. 3 is going to be my Q2. And then 1.5 is going to be my Q1. And Q3 is going to be 5. Now, we need to answer this question. Okay, now remember, every quartile is 25%, okay? So if we were to draw this, let's say we were to draw this, let's make a number line. Let's see, I want to make a line. Okay. I'm gonna, let's see, any number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't need to make it that long. Okay, so here's my number line. I'm gonna label it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, I'm gonna draw my box and whisker above it. So my min is 1, my max is 5. So my minimum is 1. My max is 5, so those are my dots. My Q2 through Q3 are all gonna be lines to make up my box. Okay, so Q2 is, actually I'm gonna put above it. Okay, so I want a dot above 1, a dot above 5 for my min and my max. For Q2, I have a line above 3. For Q1, I have 1.5. And then for Q3 is at 5. So if you notice, my max falls on the same line as my Q3, okay? And that is okay. So each one is 25%. So even though we have 3 spaces here, number 5 is 25%. Okay, so 25% of my data is at 5. So even though there's no space between that line and the dot, 25% is on this space, okay? So let's answer the question. What percentage of students were at school for less than 1.5 days? So find 1.5, which is here, and it's less than that. So we're going from Q1 to minimum, which is 25%. So 25% is your answer. Okay. Quartiles. Okay. So we have quartile 1. All right, what is range? Okay, range is the largest number minus the smallest number. Okay, so you think about it. Range, if I talk about the age range in my classroom, okay, the age range can go from 15 to 28, okay, because you guys are 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and I'm 28. Okay, so my age range is from the lowest to the biggest, and to find that number range, you just subtract from the largest minus the smallest. Okay, so finding the range of these scores. Now, I would get in the habit of always putting your data from least to greatest. So we have 14, 34, no matter what you're doing, okay? 64, 80, oops, I forgot 76. 76, 80, 88, 90, and 99. So I want the range. Okay, small or biggest, which is 99 minus 14. Okay, so 99 minus 14 is 85. Okay, so there are 85 numbers between my smallest and my biggest. Okay, and our quartile range is a little bit different. It's talking about the quartiles ranges, okay? So my IQR is my biggest quartile minus my smallest quartile. So when I talk about range, I talk about my biggest number minus my smallest number. In our quartile range, your IQR is your biggest quartile minus your smallest quartile. Okay, so from example 2, let's go back and find our... So quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3. So quartile 2 was 3, quartile 1 was 1.5, and quartile 3 was 5. Okay, so if I ask you for the IQR, instead of asking for the range, which is the data, I want the IQR from the data. Okay, so you're going to take Q3 minus Q1, which is 5 minus 1.5, which is 3.5. So 3.5 is your IQR. Okay, now Outliers, we can find outliers a couple different ways. Okay, these are the steps to find outliers. Okay, outliers are just kind of numbers that don't really belong with the rest of the data. Okay, it's kind of like the numbers that don't belong in the norm, I guess. Okay, there is a way we can calculate outliers. Okay, one of the ways is you're gonna find, okay, right here, you're gonna find all of your quartiles, quartile Q1 and 3. Okay, now the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna find your IQR, okay, which is Q3 minus Q1. You're gonna take your interquartile range and you're going to multiply it by 1.5, and you're going to get a number. Okay, that number, okay, is going to be subtracted from Q1 and added to Q3. Okay, so if you think about it, if you were to have a box and whisker plot, okay, and let's say this is my Q1, I have Q2 and Q3. Whatever the range is between Q3 and Q1, whatever that number is, and you multiply it by 1.5, it's going to give you a number towards here and a number towards here. Okay, we want to know, okay, what the number is around here and around here. Okay, anything below that or anything above this is going to be some type of outlier. I want to know what number that cutoff is. Okay, so that's how we try to find outliers with this. Okay, so take your IQR, multiply by 1.5, subtract it from Q1, add it to Q3, and find out what those two numbers are. Okay, so now we're going to do an example of that. Okay, so let's find, we don't have to make a box and whisker. Okay, so new data, so I'm going to say 2, 14, oops, let's do 10. 10, 14, 25, 33, 42, oops, missed 40. I always miss a number. 40, 42, 70. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. I need to find my Q1, Q2, Q3. So Q2 is going to be half of this data. So we need to do 33. 33 plus 25. Divide that by 2. So my Q2 is 29. So that falls here. Okay. So that's my Q2, which is 29. Right now I need to find my Q1, which is somewhere between here. So 10 plus 14 is 24 divided by 2, which is 12, which is my Q1. And Q3 is 41. Okay. Now for interquartile range, remember it says take your Q3 minus Q1. So I have 41 minus 12, which is 29. Okay, you're going to take that number and multiply it by 1.5, which is 43.5. Okay, so you're going to take Q1 and subtract 43.5, and you're going to take Q3 and add 43.5. Okay, so this is going to become 12 minus 43.5, and this is going to be 41 plus 43.5. 12 minus 43.5, so negative 31.5, and 84.5. Now, anything less than this is an outlier, and anything more than is an outlier. So I do not have any outliers in this data set because I do not have a number less than negative 31.5, and I do not have a number more than 85.5, okay? So if I were to have like 102 or negative 50 in my data, I would say that these are two outliers, okay? So anything less than this number is an outlier, anything more than this number is an outlier, okay? So we would say no outliers here.